Greetings, everybody. It's Anna Renee, and I am your love power goddess, sacred word priestess, and doula of divine transformation coming at you once again. And this is from the MAPS channel, which is mantras, affirmations, prayers, and spells. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this MAPS channel. This channel is here for our upliftment and social and spiritual development. And of course, I'm working from the power of the book series, The Metu Neter by Ra'an Nefer Amen. This is a series of 7 volumes. And in addition, he has other books. And so I would say this has been the best series for my spiritual development on a real level, on a scientific level, so that I'm not stuck in developing my faith and trying to believe in something when I don't know anything about what it is. I don't have to believe and I don't have to have faith. The truth of it is here, okay? My divinity. The Metu Neter is the best, the very best. From priest Ra'an Nefer Amen, Shechem or Shechem. Okay, my people, make sure if you want to work from this, I have a series of videos that I have already created over at my other channel, the Mastery channel. I have 2 channels, the Mastery channel and Maps, which is mantras, affirmations, prayers, and spells. Done quite a lot on the Metu Neter, and I'm not even finished. I got plenty, so you want to check out what I've already done. It's been very popular over the years, and his books are so powerful, so important that I would suggest, okay, that you run to his website. Don't walk, run in the spiritual sense to the website tauinetwork.com. TAUINETWORK, one word, tauinetwork.com, and order whichever books are in stock. As a matter of fact, I'm working from volume 4, The Osirian Resurrection, the Initiate's Daily Meditation Guide, and this particular one is not in stock as of the last time I checked the TAOINetwork.com website. But in my opinion, in volume 1, 2, and 3, I'm not even sure anymore. Check out that website. Uh, a lot of things go out of stock, and sometimes they go out of stock for a good long while. Let me say this: you should have every single book. If you are serious about your spirituality and your spiritual growth from an Afrocentric, Comitian perspective, then this is what you want to dive into, the Metu Neter. Now, there are some, like the very first volume is extremely esoteric, it's hard to understand. I have been more successful with understanding volume 4, but really volume 3, which is called, the subtitle of it is The Key to Miracles. Okay, this one has been extremely easy to understand, okay, because he's not being so esoteric in this one. It's a little bit more practical. And it just so happens, as I checked the website earlier, this particular volume is in stock and it's only costing $19, $19.99. Is worth buying, okay? But me, I got all the volumes. I got volume 6, volume 7, volume 5. I got the Tree of Life Meditation System, TOLM, which is not part of the Metu Neter series, but is just still on the same topic. This, my people, is the Tree of Life right here from the Kemetic perspective. Okay. I got the Min Ob, okay, developing a, a peaceful mindset, a peaceful will, your heart. This is how you test your will and your heart. Is it as light as a feather? Is it equal in weight to the feather? Meaning that you don't have a whole bunch of negativity and wicked emotions and painful emotions weighing down your heart. Okay. I have Stress Free for Life, which is another book by him. Okay. Imagine stress free for life. Okay. And that's on life. Okay. As that little boy said, that's on life, mama. And I got volume two. I also got volume one, but I don't know where it is. It's on the shelf someplace. I didn't grab it. So I got everything. There's more. Okay, there's actually more. The 72 Words of Power, which is what I'm working up to. And this goes with volume six. Yes. I'm also working from this particular volume as well because the channel is mantras, affirmations, prayers, and spells. That's what this is about. So, of course, I got to speak on 72 words of power, which are mantras. Okay. They're definitely mantras. This is a two CD set, and it goes with volume six. Okay. So this is coming soon. This is coming soon. This is coming soon. Okay. This is coming soon. All right. I'm working towards it. I'm going back and forth. I'm alternating between volume four and volume six. So I'm back at volume four now. So I'm just here to tell you guys, go on the TAUINetwork.com website and buy whatever you can get your hands on. Unfortunately, the Oracle deck, which is another very important thing, you should get it whether you know how to use it or not. I said that already in a previous video, is out of stock. And when it comes to the Oracle decks, I tell you, those things can be taking years before they go back in stock. I was just lucky. I lucked out when it just so happened to be coming back online, like within 3 months of me inquiring about getting the deck. I got, I signed up for some alert when it would come back online. I'm not expecting to hear from them for years or something. Months later, like 3 months later, they saying it's back in stock. Get in line. Okay. I got in line with a whole bunch of other people real fast and got mine. Okay. And let me tell you, when it came, baby. In fact, let me just go get it. When it came, it had nothing with it. It came in a UPS envelope. This is it right here. This is the deck. Okay. This right here is Geb. All right. Uh, this is positive. When all the dots are empty, that's a positive card. But anyway, this is Geb, the god of the earth. Okay. The manifestation. Okay. When this deck came to me, it didn't have nothing. No book, no little deck, no little paperwork going with it to explain anything. It didn't have nothing. What you would have needed to know is that you needed to have volume one of the Metu Netter. You needed volume one of the Metu Netter, which has all the correspondences and everything in it, which is what I read from and did on my Mastery channel maybe about 6 years ago. I went through the entire breakdown of all of the cards, the suits of this deck. Now, in comparison, I got Dust to Onyx, which is a really powerful deck as well. Ooh. Has nothing to do with the Metunetter. Has nothing at all to do with the Metunetter. This is a really powerful Dust to Onyx. It's blackness squared and squared to the 10th power. But which is the thing that you find with decks is that they'll come with these little booklets a lot of the time or something to sort of break down what it is. This came with nothing. You had to have known, you had to have been in the know that you had to have already had or need to buy volume one of the Metu Netter. And I noticed recently on, well, within a few years or whenever, uh, on the Tawi Network website, that they had created a bundle with the volume one and with the deck, and you could buy both together and pay $65, and that's a savings of $5. That's a decent savings because the deck now costs 45 and the book volume one costs 25. So if you bought both of them together, you're saving about $5, which is decent. That's decent, okay? Books with all of this information is only costing $25. There's books out there that cost 50 and 70 and $100. And decks way more expensive. Like her deck, this deck cost me $55, and it was the cheap version. I didn't want to buy the most expensive, the more expensive version, which was a deck that was bigger. See, this deck is smaller than this one. She had a version that was bigger and it had a full out book, and she wanted $150. I'm like, I can't, I'm not doing that. I'm not paying that kind of money. Not to say that it's not worth it, but I'm just not going to pay it for an Oracle deck. I'm not doing that. $150. That's what she wanted, and probably she still wants for that particular deck. That's why she created this particular deck for people who didn't want to pay. She's an artist, and it's her artwork. These cards are her artwork, so that's why she justified $150 for the deck. Anyway, to say all of that, this is well worth it. Okay, so my people, I've said enough about that. It's 12 minutes in. Let me get straight to the nitty and the gritty, okay, of chapter 7, the law of Tehuti. There's a lot in the law of Tehuti. Tehuti is a very popular one. There's lots of people walking around this earth right now with the name Tehuti, right? It's the wisdom of God. Okay, so yes, of course, a lot of people are going to have that name, Tehuti, but there's just a lot involved with Tehuti. So let me just get into it. You know to go and get books from the TAUINetwork.com, and you can find what you need. Whatever's in stock, I say go ahead and buy it. Whatever's in stock. If Stress Free for Life is in stock, get it. And there's also, let me mention also that there are CDs for those who can still deal with CDs. Okay. Of the each one of the Netter has its own words of power and has its own meditation, guided meditation. A couple of years ago, onto the Mastery channel, my channel, I uploaded. And there's a whole story about how I got a hold of the Herukuti guided meditation. It's a long story. And why I decided finally after a year to go ahead and upload it. I had to go through some thought process for that because some people would say it's not right that you should upload somebody else's work. But like I do, I direct each one of you to his website or to the website to purchase things. So it's not for my edification. I'm not trying to get money. I'm not trying to do whatever. I uploaded that so that people can see it and be inspired. You got to see stuff. It's hard to go on a website and then just look at a picture of what it is and then think that you have to have known something about it. You have to have had a little taste of it, a little testing of it. So that's why I uploaded that anyway. Okay. Work to be performed April 21st to May 20th. There's a time frame for the work. This is the work that we're doing here, okay? The northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere would be October 21st to November 20th. All right. The law of Tehuti, all of this is all cyclic. You do things at certain times of the year, certain times of the day, certain times of the month, and just the whole thing. It corresponds with astrology to a certain extent. Yeah, they do have their, like Tehuti is corresponds to Jupiter, the planet Jupiter, and corresponds then to Sagittarius and to Pisces, which used to be in the old days ruled by Jupiter. Okay. We experience the influence of the Neter Tehuti as the desire for knowledge, the desire knowledge, for knowledge, one word, okay, knowing something that's going to happen later on, you know it in advance, and value, okay? This desire can only be satisfied through the law of Tehuti. The goal of Tehuti's law is to give proof of God's existence, man's likeness with God, and the purpose of creation, okay? The two wills in man's being. At this very moment, like the majority of people in the world, you are endeavoring to achieve success and wellness in various areas of your life: health, mental performance, emotional expression, spiritual quests, career, education, family life, marriage, fellowship, and friendship, enjoyment of life, and so on. Want success in these areas, okay? Success or lack of it, you have been told, depends on how you use your will, your mind, and or your relationship with God, okay? Or your spirit or the universe for those. We will focus for now on the will and the mind, okay? The will and success. The will and success, okay? According to many teachers, quotes, success depends on willpower, quotes. This is easily refuted, says Ra'an Nefer Amen. All that you have to do is to pay close attention. After all, he doesn't believe there's such a thing as willpower as we have been taught. It's not like that in this breakdown, okay? All you have to do, and this is how he proves it, all you have to do is pay close attention to the fact that whenever you exercise your will, you are simply projecting thoughts in your mind that add up to no more than an intention. An intention. Intention. You intend, okay, to achieve an objective. The intention must be carried out by something other than your will, the lower division of your spirit, the life force. That is why people will declare the intention to stop smoking, okay, for example, or to stop procrastinating, but still continue to have it. There was a failure of communication and interaction between the will and the spirit. You might recall that the spirit must be in a state of peace in order to be receptive to the will. Yes, I mentioned that in the previous video that speaks on Asar and Amen. We must also recall the true reason why the will cannot carry out its own intentions. The will is an aspect of the self, the higher self, the divine self. The consciousness is the other aspect of the divine self, consciousness and will. And as such, it is devoid of energy and matter. It therefore lacks the capacity to exert force or power. This is why all of the exercises to strengthen your will, quotes unquote, and to acquire willpower that have been promulgated by numerous success teachers have not returned satisfactory results. I mean, and we know this is true. We can have the desire and the will to do all kinds of things. And you can see that being practiced on the first day of the year. Lots of people on the first have their New Year's resolutions. They will to do this, that, and the other, and then they don't. Okay. A few successes were due to other factors. When people were successful, it wasn't even because they managed their will. Christian theology Christian theology has been aware of the problem with man's will and taught its adherents to surrender their will to the will of God. I cannot figure out why people have not been able to see the major difficulties with this conception. Ask mentions Ra'an Nefer Amen. First of all, it places man in the position of not choosing to will to achieve her life objectives. The fact that it allows one to pass off a failure as the will of God is no true consolation. Yeah, sometimes when people will something and then they don't succeed because they didn't put forth the correct movement, okay, then they just say, well, it wasn't in the will of God for me to do this. That's not fair to God. You just didn't do the right thing the right way. Not God's fault. Okay. Second of all, it violates and contradicts the universal religious claim that man has been endowed with free will. Okay? The Kemetic perspective on the will solved the problem thousands of years ago. Operating in man's spirit are two wills. That's the thing right there. Two wills. Okay? Two wills. The will of man, yes, and the will of God. Okay? The will of man is a function of the heru neter part of the spirit, and God's will is a function of the tehuti second neter part of the spirit. Okay, Heru is the sixth neter, but Tehuti is the second neter. Okay, these two must work together for you to succeed in life. These two aspects of your spirit must work together in order for you to manifest anything, okay, that you may have willed, okay, that you may have wanted to happen. With, let's see, this is another detail of the union of man with God, the union of man with God, the at one-ment, or also known as the atonement. Okay, we will see how this is achieved in this chapter. See, now you're going to start seeing things that you read about in the Bible, and they're going to start becoming clear in a scientific way, so that you don't just read your Bible and feel like, wow, I'm so far removed from this. It's only Jesus who got to experience this, or experiences no other man after that. You're going to move past that and you're going to move into the miracles, okay? That volume that said the key to the miracles, okay? The mind and success. Success is a matter of mind over matter. We are admonished by success teachers, okay? They give us all sorts of rules and tips for positive thinking and a sprinkling of quotes from the spiritual literature as well. There are two grains of truth in the idea, and we must get at them. Working backwards, we must note that it is what is in the mind, your thoughts, that have the power to manifest effect, not in matter, but in the physical world, your body and social arena. Okay, Working backwards, we must note that it is what is in the mind, your thoughts, that have the power to manifest effect, not in matter, but in the physical world. Your body and social arena in the physical world is where it manifests. Since words are, and let me say, I'm still trying to comprehend and apprehend this, please. Since words are members of the matter category, they say words are things, it is matter, they are not self directing and cannot therefore be the initiators of your success. It is to the will that we must look to as directors of our thoughts. As I read this, I start thinking of the computer. The computer has the power to do what it does, but it needs a program to direct it to do the things. It's as though the computer is a copy of the human spirit system. Anyway, it just really seems, I mean, there's two aspects to computers, right? There's the computer, the hard drive, the what do you call that? The hard body or whatever. But then there is the programs, the discs, and they used to be called floppy disk back in the day and stuff like that. But these days, anyway, bad, 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 bad. Let me keep on moving. Since words are members of the matter category, they are not self-directing and cannot therefore be the initiators of your success. The words are members of the matter category, and they don't have the power to move themselves. Okay. It is the will that we must look to as the directors of our thoughts. Okay. It, you, is the first mover of the series of events in our lives. But how do we establish our will in the position to successfully achieve our goals? We must unite our will with the will of God. That's how. To understand this, we must focus on the fact that it is not the will that carries out the intention, but the spirit. The will wills it, but it's only an intention, it's only potential at that point. The spirit, the lower spirit, is what creates the thing and manifests it. That's why Geb is number 10 on the tree. Geb is the manifestation. Geb is the god of the earth, where things manifest after they go through the series of the neter. Okay, Geb is the earth realm. Okay, to understand, that's why earth is important. There are some religions that feel that earth and matter is not important. We have to work this out, like I said in the other video. Somewhere, earth is the gift that we have been given to do this, okay? And whether there are other worlds somewhere, that's not for us to worry about, in my opinion. Okay. Well, but some people will think about that anyway. For some people, they can't understand why earth is the only place where there's life. And who said that that's the case? That might not be the case. It doesn't mean that we can then get to the other places, but whatever. Okay, to understand this, we must focus on the fact that it is not the will that carries out the intention, but the spirit. We must also understand that the chief source of obstructions to the realization of the good life, which is success in career, family, health, etc., originates in the unjust economic, financial, and governmental schemes that people in power have devised to control and exploit the majority for the gratification of their lust for pleasure. If this were not enough, there are billions of people in the world who are empowering their life force with thoughts that make it extremely difficult for them to achieve the good life. Okay. And what about the impersonal natural disasters? Okay. To make things even worse, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, hurricanes, and the like, okay, natural disasters that can, in an instant, destroy cities and the dreams of millions, okay? You must, part two, my family. All right. To understand this, we must focus on the fact that it is not the will that carries out the intention, but the spirit. We must also understand that the chief source of obstructions to the realization of the good life, which is success in careers, success with family, with health, etc., originates in the unjust economic, financial, and governmental schemes that people in power have devised to control and exploit the majority for the gratification of their lust for pleasure. If this were not enough, there are billions of people in the world who are empowering their life force with negative thoughts, okay, with thoughts that make it extremely difficult for them to achieve the good life. They have too many negative thoughts that they have no control over, or they don't believe they do. And what about the impersonal natural disasters, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, hurricanes that can, in an instant, destroy cities and the dreams of millions? You must answer the following questions accurately. All of that stuff. Do you have enough mental clarity, emotional equipoise, and spiritual power to overcome or get around or cope with these schemes, natural disasters, and obstructions, obstructive spiritual projections? All of that. Can you handle it? If you think you can go it alone, okay, I think that you need to think again, is what Ra'an Nefer Amen is saying. This is why you must unite with God, okay? Can't go it alone. You can't deal with that stuff alone if you're trying to have the good life that we are promised. We all live in God's spirit, and our spirits are therefore subject to God's spirit, in the same way that the nutrition, for example, of the cells in your body are subject to what you are nurturing yourself with. What kind of food are you eating? Your cells are subject to whatever it is that you're eating. They have to deal with what you give yourself to eat, your cells. Okay, they are the subjects. We are the subjects of God, okay? Our spirits are subjects of God. We live within the macrocosm, all right? Is deep, my people. In the same manner that the cells in your bodies are a microcosm existing in the macrocosm that is your body, so do we relate to God in the very same way. Before I can explain to you how to unite your will to the will of God, I must first give you proof of God's being. The reason for this lies in the fact that the purpose of the will is to guarantee an effect in your life, and this guarantee cannot be secured unless you are convinced that all aspects of what you are doing are based on truth. Proof is based on knowing, and imparting knowledge is another function of the Tehuti faculty of the Spirit. All right, you need proof of God's being, okay? That there is a God or not, unfortunately, has become a subject that seems that people might debate forever, okay? The difficulty lies not in the subject itself, okay, but in the deficiencies in the thinking of the people who have failed to bring closure to the debate of whether or not there's a God. Okay. No one would have any difficulty in recognizing the fact that the building of a spacecraft, for example, requires intelligence and a great deal of it, right? Yet atheists cannot see the operation of a similar type of intelligence, and yet even greater than that, in the creation and sustenance of the universe itself, okay, which reflects the same mathematical ideas that go into the building of a spacecraft. Yes. To explain the creation of the universe, they start with created matter, gases, okay, because they're not explaining the creation of the universe. They don't know how or they don't want to, and fail to recognize that in doing so, they have refuted themselves. They begin their explanation of how the world came into being at a point where the world had already been, at the gases. For the sake of the argument, let's cut them some slack, okay, says Ra'an Nefer Amen. Scientists explain the creation of the universe as a series of events that begun with some gases that compressed to the point where their fusion caused a tremendous explosion, the Big Bang, okay? And that sounded so silly when I just now said it, the Big Bang. That sounds like something that a 2-year-old would say, the Big Bang. Anyway, let me not go off. And a great deal of heat. Upon cooling, the resulting matter and forces were transformed into the 100 plus atoms that make up the physical world. Neat, says Ron Neferoman. What the scientists artfully ignore is the fact that the formation of these atoms follows a very complex mathematical pattern that organizes the interior of the atoms and their arrangement into the periodical table of elements according to the same plans. Okay, I have discussed this at length in the earlier volumes of this series. While scientists pat themselves on the back and hand out Nobel Prizes to each other for their intelligent work with these atoms and forces, they continue to deny the intelligence to whatever organized the formation of the world on the same intelligent plan that they manipulate as science. They won't give God his due, his propers, her propers, okay? Intelligence, they howl in the dark, is the creation of living things that came about through the chance combination of the atoms, that also came about through the chance combination of subatomic particles and forces. It is sufficient to note that the complex mathematics that underlies the structure of atoms and their combinations and activities came about in the sequence of creation billions, if not trillions, of years before the creation of the living matter itself. Second of all, the creation of living matter, even in its simplest form, like amoeba, was made possible through an extremely complex mathematical program known as the gene, Gene. Okay? You have to be double dumb, he says, or plain downright evil to understand these things and yet deny the existence of a supremely intelligent being that is not only the designer of the world, but also the executor of its plan. Okay. Fools must pay close attention to the latter. Yes, it is only about intelligent design. The designer has the irresistible power to do. So watch yourself, curb your arrogance. Man is intelligent as he is simply because God has shared its intelligence with him or her, with us. Okay. Man could have been made dumb as a fish. Okay. God created the world on the basis of law and a mathematical plan and endowed man with the scientific intelligence to comprehend it. Man did not create science, he simply understands it, yet vaguely, hoping is a weak way to mobilize the power of the Spirit. But since I cannot vouch for you, I can only hope that you are by now convinced of God's existence and of your need for God's assistance in your life. Okay. Uniting with the will of God. Okay. We have learned, and let me stop right there and say this. In Christianity, they believe that we must have God. Okay. We must, and we need God at all times. And, it's true. But they're not scientific with the way they believe they need God. They don't see it in a scientific way. And so because they don't really know the reasons why they need God or how they need God, anybody can come in and tell them how they need God. And a lot of times people are deceived in Christianity. They know it, but they don't understand how. They don't get any of the science behind it. They think it has nothing to do with science, period. Many Christians believe it like that. They think that Christianity is based on the Bible itself, the book, which someone had to have written. But anyway, I'm not going to go there. All right, uniting with the will of God. We have learned that achieving oneness with God is a process of manifesting the 11 attributes of the divine spirit, which are the 11 neteru. It is living as God would live if confronted with the challenges that are common to man, which I just mentioned, having a weak mind, being manipulated by the greedy uh, rulers of this world, and having to deal with natural disasters and stuff like that. Those are the challenges of man. How would God live in this kind of situation? Okay. What would God do? In other words, okay. It is living as God would live if confronted with the challenges that are common to man. In fact, it is precisely that which happens when God manifests itself in the world through the spirit of a God woman or a God man. God is manifest through our spirits. That's the part that's going to be hard for a lot of people to believe. All right. God manifests through us. We are the manifestation of God. Okay. Our spirits is the manifestation of God. And through our spirit, see, for us, for God, we are the manifestation. We are the bottom of the tree. Okay. But for us, God is the top of the tree. You know, it's something. But when you get it, man, the freedom that you experience, okay, that's how we share with, and that's why some will say God with a capital G and us, gods and goddesses with a small g, or self, capital self and small s, self, and things like that as ways to differentiate so that we don't become arrogant, okay, and think we are God just because God has blessed us with some power, okay. All right, let me go back. All right. To become one with the will of God requires that man must learn to will events to manifest as God would. We have to be able to create manifestations. And I'm not talking about being able to create a Mercedes Benz or something else. I'm talking about other kinds of things, more powerful, more higher level things. God's will to achieve, for example, manifest health in a sick body, manifest healing, you know, manifest food in like that. What was that scripture that talked about the 2 loaves and the 3 fish? What is that what is that a representation of? What does that mean? Okay. God's will to achieve an event must harmonize with God's four, excuse me, four essential attributes: peace, omniscience, which means all knowing, omnipresence, which means all places at the same time, and omnipotent, which means omnipotence, which means all powerful. Those are God's four essential attributes. In harmony with God's four attributes, man's act of willing must, number one, the will must be formed and declared in a state of peace, the law of Asar, the law of Amen. In actuality, by definition, an act can only be said to be caused by the will when it is free from the pressure of emotions and desire. You cannot claim to have exercised the freedom to choose if emotion was the cause of your action. The ancient Egyptians drove home this message clearly in their depiction of the scene of the weighing of the heart, which is the will. In the test for the proper use of the will, the heart, symbol of the will, is placed on one of the pans of a scale, and in the other pan is an ostrich feather. Okay, which is the symbol of Ma'at, which is divine law and truth. Two things are tested here. There's a test. All right. Living by the will is indicated by the fact that the heart, will, is equal in weight with the feather. That is not weighted down. That heart is not weighted down with emotional pressure. Okay. And the other element indicated by the agreement in weight is that that truth slash divine law has been the basis of the person's will. The truth and the divine law is the basis of the will. And the will, because of that, is light as a feather. Okay. An important It is important to realize that in the ancient Egyptian spiritual system, the will to achieve your goals, I've been at it all day, I'm getting tired, but I'm going to finish this, okay? The will to achieve your goals based on the law is the evidence of your living in peace. It cannot be overemphasized. The initiate must pay extreme close attention to exclude emotional pressures and desires from the determination to pursue a goal. Any goal that you pursue can't be based on your over emotionalisms, your fears, or whatever your desires, your lusts, and all these things. It's got to be free of that. It's got to be from the will, which is the Tehuti divine section of your entire spiritual being. Okay. Letter B. This is an important fact that shows why peace, the law of Amen, is the foundation of all other laws. If your intentions are not formed in a state of peace, you cannot claim to have made a decision or to have chosen or to have willed. All of these acts depend on peace to meet the parameters of their definitions. The failure to note that one is not willing, deciding, or choosing when determining to do something on the basis of an emotion is a common error that is at the root of many failures in life. Where there is emotion, there is no freedom, no will, no choice, no decision, no living in harmony with truth or law. All right. Number two, what is willed must be in harmony with the well being of everyone and the world. Everyone and the world, whatever it is that you will, can't be in opposition to the well being of others or even the well being of the world. Okay. Number three, and that's the law of Asar, unity. You must be living a life in which you are actively working for the well being of all and the world, which is the law of Tahuti. Most people do not make the time to will and to act on behalf of others. That is the truth right there, right? If you will to achieve your goals with the expectation that God will assist you, you must make time to will and to act for the success of others, especially the people that are in your care, your close circuit of friendship, fellowship, and the people that you experience difficulty with. Don't leave out the so called enemies. That's very important. Don't kick them to the curb. In fact, bring them closer. Four, you must will with a 100% expectation of success through the assistance of God's spiritual power. You can and must expect it to happen if you are living in harmony with the 11 laws of God. Okay? The Metu Neter, the Word of God. The Metu Neter does not, as the Greeks believed, denote hieroglyphs. It is the words, the instructions that God imparts to man. It is the Word of God. One of the major casualties of pseudo-scientific thinking that severed science from spirituality and religion is the severance of man from God. Okay? It is a manifestation of a self fulfilling prophecy. If you are convinced that God cannot communicate with you, it will come to pass. That's how that goes, okay? Unfortunately, that's why he's saying that you have to have 100% expectation of success. Straight up, okay? You can't have no doubts, all right? And no emotionality, none of that. Unfortunately, it's not enough to be convinced that God can communicate with you for it to happen. There's more. Your life must be in full agreement with the divine laws, all 11 of them. Okay. You must recall what was said in chapter 1 concerning the self image, capital S, self. It is not just a depiction of the type of person and being that you are. As an image, it has the capacity to shape your thinking, okay, in harmony with itself. The image has the capacity to shape your being, your thinking, in harmony with itself. That's why they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. The image that you're looking at is so important. What are you looking at? Okay. I hope it ain't nothing negative because you are allowing that to shape you. Okay. You create in harmony with yourself in that image, whatever it is. Okay. And in fact, it will shape you. Placing the 11, that's why when people go out into nature and look at nature, they become so calm. They their whole beings change just by looking at nature. That's the first thing to do in a healing session. You need to go out into nature or look at nature. Some people say you can look at a picture and a picture of nature, and that will be even beneficial in and of itself. Okay. If you can't get out into real nature, a picture of nature is second, Of course, nature is better. But placing the 11 laws of God into your mind will result in the formation of your divine self image, your asar. That's how you get there. You place the 11 neteru, which are the laws of God, in your mind, meaning you're focusing on them. You're thinking about them all the time. You're meditating on them all the time until you get that. You know, you get you it's in you. That is how you manifest asar, okay, which is the divine self-image. This image will cause you to think, feel, and act positively. It will maintain your spirit, especially the life force, which is your Ra, your Kundalini, all right, in a state of vitality and harmony, which enables it to bring you the good things in life, okay? You will manifest the good things. You will get the miracles, okay? Unification of the will of man with the will of God. To deepen our understanding of why we must unite our will with the will of God, we must take an in depth look at reasoning. Okay? An aspect of reasoning that has escaped most scholars due to their general lack of involvement in spiritual matters. Most scholars don't deal with spirituality, they feel that is beneath them because of the separation of spirit and God from science. They don't feel that the two are mutually exclusive. They feel that, they don't deserve to be together. But people like Einstein learned the truth about something like that. Okay. The more they studied science, the more closer they became to God. But anyway, the fact that this is, they don't get it because they don't deal with spirituality. And the fact is that logical conclusions have a power of conviction, which in turn serves to mobilize the life force into action. If, for example, you were to find yourself in the position to receive the services of a person that had been reputed, had a reputation to have the power to heal through spiritual means, if you're in this person's services, your mind, okay, will automatically arrive at the logical conclusion that the person could or would actually heal you, okay? That's just a logical conclusion. If you believe the person is capable of healing, then of course, logically, you can conclude that he'll heal you if you're sick or something. And that's what people believed of Jesus, okay? And that's why they were laying out all over the place waiting to come across it. The logical conclusion is logic, is reasoning, is science. Nobody thinks that God has anything to do with science, okay? All right. This logical conclusion will translate into a conviction or faith that will mobilize your spiritual power to perform the healing for you. You will heal yourself because you believe that that person can heal you. Your mind will, well, that person can heal me, and then you'll end up getting healed. But you did it. The spirit within you did it. The person didn't really do it. You did it. Okay. I know. I know. Because you believe that person can do it, you did it. And you still, even though you did it, you don't know that you did it, but you are healed now, and so you're going to believe that that's the person who did it. You did it yourself. Operating, let's see. Of course, the credit would go to the healer. Operating beneath many miraculous quotes events that have been credited to the power of belief or faith is conviction arrived from logical deduction. This is why many religions saturate their scriptures with numerous accounts of miraculous achievements that their god or gods have accomplished through their cultural heroes. If it worked for this or that hero or heroine, it must work for me, is the reasoning process that will feed your faith. There is a serious problem, though, with this. There's a serious problem, though, with this. When the wicked ones, the Sabekians, come and they know this and they use this against the people to negative ends, okay? They tell them lies and make them believe, okay? And logical, the people come to their logical conclusions about certain things. You believe because you do not know. That's why you believe. You believe because you don't know. To have faith is to trust in what cannot be known or even proven. Okay? You have faith because you have no idea. Somebody's telling you that you need to have faith. When they convince you of that, then they have you by the short hairs, as some people call it. They have you wrapped up. You don't even know what you have faith in. You have no idea. All you know is that you have faith and somebody is manipulating you to continue to have faith. Have faith to pay me through the tithe and offering and stuff like that, or whatever I tell you. And pretend like I'm reading the Bible and get part three, my people. You believe, okay, because you do not know. To have faith is to trust in what cannot be known or proven. Sooner or later, doubt is generated by the same reasoning process, the same reasoning process that once elevated belief and faith to the heights of heaven, only to now dash them to the depths of the abysm. Okay? Lives are further ruined by the encouragement to live by belief, not knowing, and by faith, trusting in what is believed or cannot be proven. As the ill practice is extended to all aspects of life. Thus, we have the belief that tobacco is a good relaxer, that it is okay. And lots of people do take cigarette breaks because they feel like they can relax. They go out and hit the cigarette to calm down and things like that. People believe this. Okay? It's logical deduction. Okay? The commercials is what put the image in front of you and make you believe these things, you know. It's sad, to be honest. Lives are further ruined by the encouragement to live by belief, not knowing, and by faith, trusting in what is believed or cannot be proven, as the ill practice is extended to all aspects of life. Thus, we have the belief that tobacco is a good relaxer, that it is okay to drown your sorrows in alcohol, that things can be stressful, that religion is opposed to science, that man is a human being, that God could be afflicted with the flaw of anger and still be God, and legions of other of these kinds of things, okay? Fortunately, there is no real conflict of opposition or incongruence between reason and spirituality. These exist only in untidy or unready minds, okay? Reasoning, we must keep in mind, proceeds automatically from the establishment of a conviction in our mind, okay? The mind treats it as a premise and reasons automatically from it. Do not dismiss the observation that a conclusion can be logical and not true as something harmless, okay? True or not, if you are convinced that it is true, it will mobilize the life force into working for its realization in the physical world through psychical and physiological means for good or bad. And that's like alcohol. Someone who believes that they can't live without the alcohol, that they're going to get sick without their alcohol. Something's going to happen to them if they don't drink their alcohol. Alcohol is not doing anything for the person. They believe it though. They believe it deeply though. Alcohol is doing nothing for people who drink it and believe they must. They feel like they got to hit the bottle. All right. Mm. By placing the 11, but here's by placing the 11 laws of God into your mind, you would have placed 11 true premises, okay, that work synergistically through the rational process to bring about the mobilization of your spirit, your energy, to manifest your divinity in the world. It will and it must happen automatically. The 11 laws of God overshadow all other kind of foolish thoughts and beliefs and things like that. You will have nothing except success. Okay, you can't do anything except have success. It's a foregone conclusion, as they say. It's automatic, as they say. It can't but happen. is what they say. Nothing else can happen except your success if you have the 11 laws of God in your mind in a deep way. Okay. Now, balancing heaven and earth. Let's see. I hope I can finish this in this last video. I think I can. Okay. Balancing heaven and earth in the law of Tehuti. Okay. It is true that the word of God, the Metu Neter, is the supreme knowledge. We must seek it and adhere to it, but it must agree with the knowledge that comes from earthly experience. Okay, the earth is important. The God of the earth, Geb. Okay, many spiritual teachers have erred in the direction of the spiritual, while materialists have erred in the other direction. Okay, you got to have the balance of the two, perfect peace within your being, and the two will come together for your enrichment. The chief patterns that underlie the structure of the metaphysical world are the same for the physical world. As above, so below, you heard it. Okay, the will of God never fails, okay? God cannot be God and fail in the realization of its will. What God wills must come true. Otherwise, God must cease to be God. If it is true that we are made in the likeness of God, we too must be unfailing in our will to achieve, okay? If we're in the likeness of God, then we have to be successful, okay? Because God is successful, all right? This we cannot achieve as long as we will as humans. You have to come up to the divine, all right? There is a saying that God is good, and it is true. A means has been put in place for the use of the will in an unfailing manner. The key resides in the nature and function of the spirit. Number one, first of all, we must keep in mind that it is the responsibility of the spirit for carrying out our will. Okay, and number two, the spirit is 100% receptive to the will, provided that the will has been declared when the spirit is in its receptive mode, the whole point of meditation. Okay. Number three, the willed event must not violate the law of oneness. Okay, you can't be harmful to anybody in the world or the world itself. Okay, if you willed to manifest something that detracted or that was unjustifiably opposed to the interest of another, the life force division of your spirit will work to manifest it, but will run into opposition from God's spirit, which always works to maintain the unity of the world. That's just logic. Okay. Oh, don't go up against God. Your arms are too short. All right. Number four, you will guarantee and enhance your success by assisting others to achieve their goals, especially if such goals coincide with yours or if there is a history of difficulty with the person. There's something about dealing with someone you're having difficulty with that really jazzes up and pushes everything forward in a positive way, okay? Because you're trying to bring forth that unity once again, okay? When you think about a goal in life, you must not only think about the goal and the earthly resources and strategy that must be used. You must begin with the assessment of your spiritual condition, using the 11 laws as the standard for your being. Your ability to be peaceful, amen, through the challenges that you will encounter, consideration of the needs, interests, and rights of others, which is Asar, are paramount. From the perspective of the Tehuti law, you must also perform acts in support of the interest of others. You must remember that living as a God man or a God woman is relying on the omniscience, omnipresence, and omnipotence of God. If you're going to be a God man, you're going to have to rely on God, okay? The power of God, the omnipotence of God, the omnipresence of God, the peace of God, and the omniscience of God, okay? and omnipotence. You cannot tap into these divine essences. Okay, this is the whole point. You're trying to tap into this omniscience. Okay, through Tahuti, omnipotence. Okay, this is what you get when you connect with God on this level. Okay, you can't do it by yourself. You cannot tap into these divine essences without proactively working at sharing them with others. Proactively at the very same time. Oneness with God is oneness with others, and not merely in the acknowledgement of the oneness or the passive non-interference, but in the the active assistance of others. Oh my goodness. You got to be doing something right now, helping others to tap into this. Because if you're not doing that, then what's the need for you to tap into the omniscience of God? You don't need it. You're not helping anybody. You're not helping God. You're not working in God's plan. You're not in the will of God. You don't need to tap into that kind of power if you're not doing anything for it. It's deep, okay? It's deep, but it's not impossible to grasp, okay? Oneness with God is oneness with others, and not merely in the acknowledgement of the oneness or the passive non interference, but in the active assistance of others. The good life that you will secure is the result of God's wisdom and spiritual power flowing through your being, okay? By their very nature, they cannot come through you to benefit just you. It will automatically seek to bless others. And you have to be a conduit. You have to be willing to be a conduit. You can't get none of that if you're not willing to share any of that. It's omnipotence. There's plenty of it. It never finishes. It's eternal. So why be greedy? But you must take the initiative to be in harmony with them. Okay, there's a lot you got to be. Okay, a major objective of the Tahuti faculty is the elimination of opposition and enmity in people's lives, the realization of the law of Asar, which is oneness, and of Amen, which is peace, and its enjoyment, which is happiness. This is the goal of wisdom. A motto of Tahuti states that Tahuti makes the combatant brothers go home in peace. This represents wisdom's ability to overcome all oppositions and enmity in the world. Wisdom does this, okay? The Tahuti initiation work. Review and write an introspective essay on your attitude towards foreknowledge about events in your life. Are you interested in knowing what is to come? Does foreknowledge of upcoming personal events make you uncomfortable? Consider your answers aside the fact that God has provided man with the ability to know ahead. In addition to oracles, man has devised many means of prognostication. For the financial markets, you got that Dow, the ticker tape thing that tests things and gives you information about the market ahead of time. And weather is another one. Epidemics is another one. Okay, there's ways to know things ahead of time before they happen. Really, write a short essay on what specific part of your spirit is being developed by the challenges posed by your marriage, your career, your education, your parenting, each of your children, each of your friends, your business, each of the specific challenges in your life, etc. If you cannot answer these questions, you must consider the fact that God has provided a means of you knowing these answers. Your spiritual faculties cannot be developed in a vacuum. They are all developed by specific life events. You have to go through stuff. That's how you develop, okay? The life events, hard life events, you know, challenging life events, and all kinds of things. And the Metu Neter Oracle is the means through which God reveals to you the relationship of life events to the faculties of your spirit. Review and make a list of all the things that you failed at during the do at that you failed at due to the belief that your will was lacking in power, like you felt like you had a lack of willpower. Rid yourself once and for all of the erroneous concept of willpower. Okay, get rid of it. Review and meditate on the following diagram. And this is the diagram right here, these 4 blocks: self slash will, thoughts, life force, and physical, what does that say? Physical effects. Okay, that's a process right there. Review. If you are still not convinced that there is proof of God's existence, okay, you need to write a long essay explaining, one, how is it that we take something as the genome theory as proof of high intelligence in the men that worked it out, yet deny intelligence in whatever created life based on the genetic structure. Okay, we deal with the genome, which is filled with intelligence, and we use it to do what we do, the scientists do. But how is that? Where did that genome come from, though? Where did that knowledge come from? Okay, it didn't come from the scientists. Okay, it is virtually impossible for lifeless atoms to have assembled themselves by chance. Skip the Big Bang Theory, okay? Toss that one in the trash too. By chance into the complex mathematical arrangement of the genetic code that is at the foundation of living matter, okay? Two, work up similar questions. There are thousands of examples you can come up with. I pray that you will one day see the light. That's if you don't believe in God still. Okay. Declarations of freedoms from sins. Examples: I have not denied God's existence. I have not denied that my intelligence is an endowment from God and a reflection of God's intelligence. Okay. Review and make a list of the chief decisions you have made in your life regarding marriage, mating, major purchases, career, having children, etc., and make an honest effort to discover if and what emotions, sensual energies, or desires exerted an influence in these choices. Okay? If there were any, then note that you did not decide. If you had any emotions involved in any of those things, okay, then it wasn't your decision. The decision of the self, the higher self, okay? You didn't make a decision based on the Tehuti faculty within you to will, all right? A decision is an act of the will, which must be free of energy. The will is free of energy, okay? So emotions and all of that is not going to be there, okay? If you were pulled in direction A by desire and towards B by another, and you went with A, you did not choose or decide. You were driven by the stronger force. That's what that is. You were pushed by the force of the energy of your desires. Okay. It's not the same as willing, choosing for real, for real. It is important to establish a clear understanding and recognition of the causes of your actions, will, choice, decisions versus desire, sensual craving, or emotion. It is only thus that you can lay the foundation to unite with the will of God. I'm going to try to finish this. What is done based on truth and law is free of energies, emotions, etc. Declarations of freedom from sins. Examples: I have not nurtured the human and the animal in my being by confusing desire with freedom of the will. Okay. Review and perform the following meditation. The meditation script. Scenario: visualize one of your major goals in life. Truism, which is the divine law. Why should I not bless strangers and transgressors? Have I not received unasked for blessings? Did I earn all the good things that have come my way? Did I earn them all? God has given to me through others and asked for nothing in return. I give thanks for God's love for me by showering all with my love. Okay. Visualization of living in harmony with the law. Now, visualize others or a specific person benefiting from your success. The benefit can be a righteous material good, health, financial well being, etc., or a spiritual good, the person's growth, moral improvement, etc. Visualization of the blessings received from living truth. See yourself, your person, enjoying a goal that you are seeking to attain as a result of having vitalized and harmonized your life force with peace. Okay, which is Amen. Declarations of freedom from sins. Examples: I have not sought to achieve goals and to acquire goods that are injurious to others. I have not neglected to assist others in their attainment of success and wellness. Make a list of the things about you that have shaped your human self image. Remember, we have the God self image and the human self image. Okay, we have two wills. Your sensual and emotional behavior, habits, likes, dislikes, fears, inclinations to anger, etc., the ideas that portray you as a human, etc. Please do a thorough job. Understand that these are the ideas that the laws that you are placing into your mind must replace. The laws of God that you are placing into your mind are going to replace these human ideas that you have of yourself. All of that stuff, okay, is getting ready to be wiped out and replaced by the laws of God so that you can manifest miracles in your life. Because with the laws of God within your spirit, you are in you're in with the will of God within you. Okay. So you have access to the omniscience and the omnipotence. You have to be in the will of God in order to have access. God ain't gonna give you access if you're not in the will of God. Woo! It's some serious stuff. Okay, so you got to get rid of all this human stuff, your dislikes, your fears, your inclinations, your anger, and all that stuff. That stuff. Declarations of freedom from those sins. Okay, compose a declaration out of all of the factors that you have uncovered beneath your human self. All of that stuff. I have not indulged the thought that I am fearful or the emotion of fear. I have not indulged the thought that I am a human. I have not denied my divinity. I have not placed man into a separate category from God. I have not indulged the thought that I have low self esteem. We women be doing that one a lot. I have not indulged the thought that my charitable acts are humanitarian. It is divine to share, not humanitarian. Make a list of all the things that you believe and note that the basis of claiming that you believe is the fact that you don't know. If you have to say that you believe, then that means you don't know. Knowing is better than believing, okay? Write a short essay on why people call religions belief systems, okay? Why do they say that you must believe in God? If the world is built on sound scientific principles, why then can we not know God? Can you see that everywhere there is belief, there must also be doubt? And doubt kills spiritual power. Declaration of freedom from sins. Examples: I have not demoted God and its wisdom to items of belief. I have not spared any effort in developing my knowledge of God and the divine way. I have not nourished the source of doubt in my being. There's a lot of work involved, but if you do it, You will succeed. And you get the laws of God in your spirit, replacing all of these human stuff, these false ideas and these beliefs and all this weird stuff, like that you have to smoke, you have to drink, and things like that. There's billions of that kind of stuff. That you're fearful, that you can't do this and you can't do that. And if you can replace all of that mess with the laws of God and meditate on those laws of God, you will become a very powerful being, okay? You will become a divine being. God will be able to then connect with the will, your will, okay? You will become a vehicle for God's manifestation in the world, doing God's work, okay? Creating unity with others, all right? That's what God's work is, helping others. And you will then have access to the omnipotence, meaning all powerful, the omniscience, meaning all knowing, the omnipresence, being everywhere at one time, just, that kind of power, okay? And the peace. It's worth it. I think I want that for sure, for sure. I'm for real. I want it, okay? And if this is true, then I can have it, okay? And it's all logical and scientific, all right? My people, peace and love to each and every one of you all. I managed to get it done. Blessings to each and every one of you all. The next one, of course, will be the law of Sekher. Okay.